Hi, everybody, and welcome to Music Career Radio. I'm your host, Nani Noam Vazana, and my guest this week is Stefano Zucchiatti, the Communication Manager of Europe Jazz Network. And he has many years of experience with communication for various European nonprofits. Together, we will explore ways for DIY musicians to improve their communication skills and EPKs, electronic press kits. If you don't know that word, tune in. And if you would like to submit your EPK for a review, please do in the post below, and I will review the posts later so we can answer all your questions and maybe also review your EPKs live. As you know, all work on this podcast is done voluntarily. So if you want to support our work, which is, I think, a very important branch within the music industry, because we facilitate musicians for scholarships for independent musicians to raise the bar on the roadmap of the music industry and improve their careers on their own. We do that with my course, whydiymusic.com, if you would like to check it out. So if you would like to help a musician, sponsor a musician, or just support this podcast, please visit wdiymusic.com/donate and make your contribution. And if you are a musician and you'd like to apply for a scholarship, go to wdiymusic.com/scholarship and submit the application form. You could also send a direct PayPal transfer to paypal.me/Noam Vazana. Hi, Stefano. Welcome to Music Career Radio. How are you doing?
Hello, Nanny, and hello, everybody. Very good. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being with us today and for sharing your knowledge. I think it's very appreciated by everybody here that are watching. So thanks.
Thanks to
I
you.
Yeah, you were saying.
No, thank you. I just wanted to say.
You were working for years in the music industry and mainly for nonprofits. I was wondering what made you choose this path of work. What attracted you in the first place?
Okay, so actually, I mean, it wasn't planned like this. Like I think most jobs just happened a bit by coincidence. I think it was a combination of things, which I couldn't foresee when I was maybe younger, finishing the university on that. So I developed some skills and experience working in networks, not music networks, but cultural networks in general, and no profits, and to working with the European Union funding. And then apart from that, and even before that, I had always a great passion for music. I used to be a guitar player. We used to have a band, but that was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
So it was, the two things parallel but very separate kind of life. And then a bit by chance, when I was, at the moment when I was a bit changing my life, changing my place where I live and all that, I found out this work with the EGN, with the Europe Jazz Network, and the two things combined, in a bit casual way but very positive way. Yeah.
Nice. So, how long have you been working with the EJN?
It's a bit more than 5 years, I think now. Yeah.
Nice. I saw that you took on intricate productions together with the EGN, like for instance in Novara when we met, and you always seem to have everything under control, which I think is that's it's a quite a rare trait within the music business because I feel that there is a lot of hype going on around the music industry jobs, and a lot of musicians struggle with mental health issues, so they struggle with keeping it cool and collected and just keep on carrying on, especially in downtimes like we have now with the pandemic. What is your advice for musicians who struggle with this aspect?
So, I mean, there is no easy answer, of course, to this. And I think it's a very important topic, and it's not enough, I think, acknowledged and studied. I mean, that psychological dimension. I mean, I think it's I would say, I mean, there are different aspects to it. I mean, I think there is a more longer term aspects, but maybe we can talk later about that. But in the short term, let's say in the event, in the heat moment, if you could say, I think it's a lot. It has something to do with also kind of letting things go a little bit, if you see what I mean. Not to be not to be aware you can control everything, and not everything is going to be as you totally imagine and as you totally plan, but that things will work out. And then a lot of trust. I mean, trust. And I think for a musician, is the same as for an organizer. You really need to trust the people around you, and to have, a very positive feeling about them. So then, you don't feel, you feel a bit less alone on what you're doing.
Yeah, I think that's a part of the deal. People feel alone. It's a lonely profession in general. Like you sit in front, in your case, you sit a lot in front of your computer to figure out the communication. And in our case, being musicians, you either sit at home composing like what you think are intricate soundscapes, and you think they will be communicative with the audience. And sometimes they are not. And sometimes they don't even get the light of day because we don't get to go on tour right now, especially, in down times, pandemic times. So we don't get this reality check. And this is, I think, a part of the struggle.
No, I think so too. I think this year, I mean, honestly, it's been a horrible year for everybody. I mean, it was impossible to imagine something like this. And of course, I lived more the reality of organizers and the struggle they have. I mean, promoters and managers of venue festival, but also I've been speaking to a lot of musicians, and already is a very tough job. and as you say, this uncertainty exists without the pandemic. So now, even to be disconnected to the most the warm part of your work, which is the connection with the people, with the community, and that was really a nightmare. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
Kind of. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, please come.
What kind of work style do you have? Like, I know for myself that I am a little bit like a mule. I'm like the hardworking type person. And if I need to do something, if I need to compose, or I need to work on a deadline, or if I need to write an application, so then I would work long hours. And at some point during that time, inspiration will strike, and then I'll take it over and I'll continue to work. And then some people sit at home and wait for the moments of inspiration to start working. So what is your style?
Yeah, I would say, I try to be fairly organized. In a way I have to, because my work is not as creative, unfortunately, for as composing music, for example. It's so, and there are a lot of deadlines, like you mentioned. So I do have a tight schedule, and I try to follow, in a way, also the day rhythm. I know a little bit myself now, so I know, for example, if I have to write things, which it's maybe a press release, or any form of text which should go public, I feel better to do it in the morning. That's what the moment where I am more for that usually, and then for the more administrative stuff, or database management, or all these kind of things, I can do them in the afternoon when maybe I'm more brain dead, but I have I can still, like a mule. So.
So we have the same style. I have 3 shifts a day. Like, I have a morning shift, an afternoon shift, and an evening shift. And then in between, I take breaks to cook and eat. And I take a walk also once a day to recharge the old batteries. Do you take walks? Well, your area is amazing, right? The north of Italy, it's like beautiful.
It is very beautiful, and to be honest, that was the hardest part of the the heavy lockdown we had in Italy in March and April, May, because that was very difficult. For me, it was very. I'm used to work from remote. My colleagues are not living in the same city as me, so we work anyway online, and we have what we call a virtual office. So that was, remote working, or that was, not even a thing for me, because we've been doing it since I started this job. So it was so the thing was very hard for me. I was exactly not being able to go out and not be able to take walks, or to go to the mountains. My mountains are very close to here. They are, in front of my eyes now. So, and it's very bad to look at them and not be able to go there, not even for a short walk. Yeah.
So you were like heavily locked down. You were not even able to leave your house.
That was the first wave, let's say. Now we are able, and it's there are some limitations, but there are also some possibilities, and these are always changing in a way. But we never reached the full total locked at home thing.
Not like the UK or Israel. I know, like my parents living in Israel now, there was a time during the first lockdown that they were not allowed to walk more than 100 meters away from their house. And it's like, the supermarket is further away. So you have to go somewhere. It's very weird. It's a very difficult atmosphere to be locked down, I think.
Yeah, I think, and it was the same in Italy, but I think they realized like we were mentioning before, there are psychological aspects, as well to this matter, which they should be taken into account. And we weren't also allowed, at some point we were not allowed at all to go out apart from shopping. And then it was, also 200 meters, 500 meters. And then, now it's a bit more open, yeah.
Yeah. So luckily, it's changing with the time. I'm so used to meeting my colleagues in trade fairs and conferences like the EJC, um, and I feel very weird that we have gone digital, because I like the live aspect was so important to me, because what is actually the difference between sending someone an email, like someone that you don't know, hi, I'm this and this, would you listen to my music? Um, then to then send them an email through the interface of the conference, the digital conference. So instead of an email, you're sending a message through the interface. So maybe it's a little bit better received because you're all members of the same community, but still, I didn't see the same results. Like I have attended a few digital conferences and I didn't feel the same connection that I had with my friends, and I didn't really feel that I made a lot of new friends, which usually what happens in a conference. You chose not to do a digital conference with the EJC this year, right?
Exactly. I share your same thought. I also attended a few, and of course, very well organized and very, you can see that it put a lot of efforts, such as Womex and In Jazz in the Netherlands and few others. And I think there are some limits, as to what the digital world can go. And for the European Jazz Conference, it's a little bit of a different thing, because we are really not a fair, we are not a trade fair, or of course people come there, it's for business in a way, but we feel very important to keep it connected to to keep the atmosphere more familiar, more relaxed, and to keep it the program of the conference connected to a theme that we have each year. And also a part of it is also the reason why we do the conference is to help professionals to discover new musical landscapes, or music in new countries, let's say, and also new places. So this year it was supposed to happen in Sofia in Bulgaria, together with our member A to Z Foundation, and with the National Palace of Culture, which is a huge cultural institution. And we talked a lot with them since the very beginning, because we were already working. We had a showcase selection done. We had a logo, a theme, a graphic. We were quite quite ready in April to launch the whole thing, which will happen in September. And then we talking with Dan and with our board of directors, we really talked a lot, and we waited, and we decided that it was better to postpone, because what wouldn't have happened if we had it was these old things surrounding the conference itself, which in a way is even more important than the conference itself. So we could have done an online showcase. We could have done, some things in Sofia still happening from a distance, but it wouldn't have been like bringing 400 people. Many of them would have gone for the first time to Sofia. I mean, we know that from our chats and with our members. So yeah, we would have lost this dimension. And so that's why we decided at the end, it was July, middle of July, to not to do a digital conference, to just have online the general assembly of the network, of the members of EGN. Mm-hmm. That's the formal moment where people vote for the president, approve the budget, the work plan, and let's say the formal GA. And for Sofia to postpone the whole conference to 2022. So next year, we will be in Tallinn, in Estonia. It was in the Teleskivi area, creative city, and it will.
Music Week.
Yeah, they do things. That's where they do the showcases. At least the one time I went there, they were having and we that was already decided beforehand, so we didn't want to change that. And we will go to Sofia in 2022, hopefully. I mean, that's the plan.
So that still happens. So it didn't feel like you lost it.
Yeah, I mean...
Sorry, you were saying.
No, go on.
No, you're go on.
No, I think it's very difficult to predict what will happen, but I think both for 2021 and 2022 we will manage to do something physical and real, as close as possible to our conference.
Yeah, I hope so too. I was actually hoping that Womex will return to Budapest. I really like Budapest, so. Yeah, no,
me too. It's a beautiful city, and I've been to Womex in 2015 in Budapest, and it was an amazing atmosphere. I mean, this boat with the music, the late night things, and a lot of great music, and But also, I think it's going to Porto next year, right?
Yes,
that's what I saw somewhere.
Also a beautiful place.
Well,
yeah,
indeed.
Yes. And if we already mentioned the conferences, maybe the online experience doesn't compare to the live experience, but hopefully soon the live experience will return. So I was wondering if you have any advice for musicians that go to trade fairs, because I hear from a lot of musicians, because of my course, I have this online course, Why DIY Music. So a lot of musicians take it, or they take personal one-on-one sessions with me, like consulting sessions. And the question or the statement, let's say, that repeats a lot is, I hate to network. So I hear that a lot. And I don't really like the word networking in general, because I don't really see that this is how you have to approach it. When I go to a conference, I'm mainly there because I already know some people and I want to meet my friends, and maybe we have something to discuss because we're already in a project. And then maybe I get to know some new people, and then worst case scenario, I make a friend, which is not a worst case scenario at all. For me, it's the best case scenario. And then musicians approach it as people that I need something from. And I don't think that's a very healthy approach. Do you have any advice for musicians that go for a trade fair for the first time?
Yes, I mean, first of all, I fully agree with you on what you just said, and also on the reason why you should go to a trade fair. I think let's start from the basic advice, which probably, and you know better than me, is that to be very prepared, to who you meet and to who you talk to. I mean, we have a stand every year, both at Jazzhead and at Womex, and sometimes we went to a few other events like Bubble Mad or Tallinn Music Week and a few others
Yeah.
in jazz in the Netherlands. And I think, I mean, it's always nice to meet people. I think that's the starting point. No, as you said, it's nice to be in in international environment. To meet people, to talk to people, and it's from our perspective, it's not nice when people approach you, with a with the goal, very, very clear. I mean, and I do understand that they have it, and I do understand why they have it, of course, and it makes total sense. But still, the effect is not very pleasant. So I think it's like, for example, I think in if we talk to EGN, if you come to our stand, it will be good to understand at least what EGN is and what what we can do for you and what we cannot do for you, and the same goes, I think, for everybody. But I think the main advice I will give is to just try to enjoy as much as possible. I mean, fairs are stressing and they are very confusing, and you need a lot of drinks to go through the day, full day. But you should still try to.
I didn't get it. I'm not so used to drinking. So I was like, what do you mean? Whiskey at 11 a.m.? What is wrong?
Exactly. But then you understand there is a reason for that, no?
Yeah.
Because it's a very chaotic and hectic environment. So, but well, yeah, to try to enjoy it. I mean, I also made some new friends, which musicians and professionals and any type, and yeah, that's what we look for. But I think it's I think the first question really is to try to understand why you want to go to a fair. I think that's the first question anybody should be able to reply to himself.
Yeah. And then I would say do your research in advance, find out who you want to talk to, and try to meet them in a natural scenario and not in a forced scenario. Because, like I've seen, like for instance, I'm talking to someone at Jazz Ahead, and then there is a line of three other people standing behind me waiting to meet that person. And then sometimes they even interrupt in the middle of the conversation, say, "Hi, can I say something? Can't you see I'm talking?" Like, it's really, I really don't understand how come we don't have these basic communication skills. And I think you're probably a great example for how you can do that in a polite, yet assertive, but polite, soft, comforting, friendly way. So I think you're the best person to give advice for musicians in that sense. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. It's appreciated.
Yeah.
And it's understandable, as I said. I mean, I mean, we all understand how tough it is, to be a musician, to try to promote your music or to move in an environment which it's very scary, especially at the beginning, I think, of your career. So it's not the matter of it's, I think, we all understand it, but still, it's you need to understand also the other side, the fact that it's nice, for example, to talk to somebody, and if I talk to somebody, as you said, it's not nice to be interrupted, and maybe I'm enjoying that conversation, and
yeah, it's about sustainable relationship, really.
And there's fairly little amount of people we can meet properly, I think, in 3 days, in 4 days. And as you said, I mean, also for us, most of the time we spend at the conference, it's a time where we need to have, or we want to have, meetings with our members or with our partners. I mean, we have stuff to discuss. We have maybe activities, plans, the conference coming up, the whatever an activity we do in one country or the other. So we will need, I would say the majority of the time for us is spent in what we call private meetings.
Yeah.
So for the remaining time, it's nice to enjoy, I think, and then
I agree. Hmm. If you look for a moment on social media, there have been a lot of changes in the last 2 years. With the drop of organic reach and the rise of paid reach, and I even now start to feel the tests that Facebook are doing for 2021. Like in the last week, I've seen a substantial decline in my organic reach again, and I think they're using the ground now to test things for next year. What changes do you expect to happen in 21 as far as social media is concerned, and what can musicians do to improve their algorithm ratings on their own, especially with business pages?
Yeah, I'm difficult answer. I mean, it's a good question. I think that's a process that it's happening since long time. I don't see it been changing. I mean, especially Facebook. I mean, it's getting more and more difficult for everybody
Yeah.
who has a page, and and I don't know. I think there are some ethical dimension to it, but but I do realize maybe
Yeah.
it's not for everybody who can, I mean, everybody should ask these questions, but not everybody maybe has the luxury to, to say I don't use Facebook at all, or
Yeah.
I look for other social media, which there are, there are movements to,
Yeah.
especially I think in other networks, in other cultural areas where there is a strong movement to go away from the big fives, Google, Facebook, whatever. And but I think that's uh, yeah, it's another, in a way, another matter. I think, I don't know, I think a lot of people are starting to use creatively, the social media. I don't really have a strong opinion about the paid, advertising and all that. For example, on Facebook, we do it with the EGN for the main news, but I don't think I think we have such a broad scope of people we want to reach, which
Mhm.
is, throughout all Europe and all that, that it's, it's always difficult to have substantial results with advertising on
Mhm.
social media. The more you can narrow your target, the better it works, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, I think this thing will go on. I think people should really look to different mediums. I mean, and people are already doing. I see when I, for example, we publish every month a chart of new albums in the EGN channels.
Mhm.
It's called a Europe Jazz Media Chart. It's compiled by journalists across Europe from the main magazine website, and I tag all the artists, as I post it on Facebook and Instagram and so on. And I can already see in Instagram it's much easier than finding artists than
I
in
totally agree.
Facebook. I
Yeah.
notice it in.
Instagram in general is a more collaborative network than Facebook is. Like when you collaborate with someone, they don't even have to be an influencer. Like if you
Mhm.
collaborate with someone on Instagram, there is more privilege that you get with the algorithm. Uh, how do you say spread capability? Um, just for doing a collaboration or just by somebody sharing your story, you are reaching so many people. And if somebody does a share on Facebook, they actually make the exposure of that post diminish more and more because they want you to pay eventually for the paid campaign. And also, I've noticed that you hardly can be exposed to new people anymore. So you're kind of only exposed to people who already like your page, um, and therefore I tried in the last year since Corona started to build a digital brand and enhance my digital branding in a better way on a variety of social networks and not only on Facebook, because I was very active on Facebook before, and now I'm starting to be active more in other channels, and I see a much larger growth comparing to my activity on Facebook. So I think it's even 3 or 4 times larger in other networks than it is currently on Facebook.
Absolutely, and yeah, I have the same feeling as you, and also I think there are many more to explore. No, I think during the pandemic, a lot of musicians started to use tools that I honestly I have no idea, like Parthenon, Twitch, this type of tools, which also I think in some case allow to remuneration for some services, which of course is a very important thing. And yeah, I think musicians artists should explore as in a creative way. I mean, I've seen really some very nice examples of people using in a creative way, Instagram or also Facebook. I mean, during this time, but yeah, it's but it's difficult, and it's difficult to be innovative, and it's difficult, and it's again, there's a question. I mean, if I'm a musician, why should I put all this effort in in something which is not music, which is
Well, that's the $1 million question. Like people say, why should I invest in promotion? Why should I invest in networking? Why should I go to a trade fair? I can just send my materials. I had questions from musicians. Can you take a box of my CDs to Jazz Ahead and give it to these 15 people? I said, what is that going to help you? You need to make friends.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, and I think like you,
Yeah.
and at the same time, I think everybody needs to be, I say, faithful, honest to his her character. I think that's very important. We shouldn't be expecting everybody to be, to be super friendly, to be super good in networking. We shouldn't, and I like shy people. I talk very well with shy people. I mean, because, and yeah, so I think everybody should be, both online and in person, should be coherent. I mean, should be its own person in a way, and that because that shows very clearly, even on social media. It's incredible how you can tell different personalities. Yeah,
I agree.
by various.
Yeah. And I think well, even if you are a shy person, I was very shy at first. I learned how to be more outgoing. Um, so I don't like parties, for instance. So if I go to a party, I end up speaking with 2 or 3 people, and we have like a more in-depth one-on-one conversation. And um, when I was going to trade fairs at the beginning, instead of getting as many people as possible, I would just talk to the people that I thought were nice, and I thought I could be friends with them. And these 2 or 3 people became my friends. And now, 8 or 9 years later, going to trade fairs, if every day you make 2 or 3 friends, and you go to 10 trade fairs a year, well, now you have 3,000 friends. That's it's not bad. It accumulates. So yeah, I mean that's the way I do it. I don't know what other people do, but I would definitely recommend to do that. I actually have 2 full episodes on my course about that, about developing sustainable relationships and not shooting in all directions to just get your elevator pitch heard, which is probably not going to help you anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you on this.
Well, we're both involved in a very small community, like the EJN, for instance. The music community is small, and people ask each other for advice all the time. Do you get to review a lot of musicians' EPKs?
I mean, personally, no, because it's. I think it's good maybe to explain the main core mission of EGN. I mean, Europe Jazz Network is an association of promoters, so festival directors, venue directors. It's a non-profit association, and it exists since 1987. And it's quite big now. Now we have 164 organization members in 34 countries.
Yeah.
And we have a core staff of 3 people. One is me, and the other 2 are Francesca and Ceretani and Giambattista Tofoni, which we are, let's say, the core working staff on this. But then, of course, we have a board of directors, which is elected by the membership, and we have a number of collaborators and part-time people who help us on specific tasks. So we, as EGN office, we are not involved in selection process for example, for festivals or even for showcases. So it's the showcases usually of the European Jazz Conference. There is a committee which we facilitate and we manage it, but we are not part of the committee. And same goes for other events which we do during the year. Maybe we always do events together with one of our members or more than one member. So even the conference is always organized together with one or more members from a certain country. And the same goes for other activities and concerts. So that's, let's say, the standard reply. But then apart from that, of course, I mean, I have a passion for communication, and I do some video projects and things. So of course, I like to watch some of things, and I have my opinions about things, like EPKs and all that. So yeah.
So what do you think? What common mistakes do you see in musicians' EPKs?
I think it's one thing is to give for granted too many things from the other side. I mean, it's one common mistake, I think, is to feel that the person you are talking to knows already more about you than what you think. I think that's very common. And so, and it's the same like when I write a press release for EGN, for any activity. I mean, I do need to feel that the person who's reading it knows nothing about EGN and what a network is and why there should be a network of promoters in Europe and jazz and all that. So that's one thing. And then I mean, there are a number of mistakes, I think, and I think one is to shy away from. One mistake is to abuse some formulas and some words, and I mean, there were some very funny, I think, threads on Twitter on one time, or what's the most commonly used adjective to describe the jazz music of a thing, and you can see, there is a very we are a small. I don't remember. I should look it up. But it was funny, because then you realize that most artists will describe themselves with the same words. And
I see a lot of use of the word organic trio. It's as if you are farm produce,
Yeah.
And I
No,
also,
but, go on. Yeah.
yeah. What?
You know more than me. You know these things more than me, I think.
I don't know. I mean, like I see it, and I also the thing that I really don't like about musicians' EPKs is that they refer to themselves as the best band from the Netherlands, one of the best saxophone players in jazz. And then you think like, wow, these people have ego. I when I read this, I have a feeling already if they praise themselves that much, they're probably not that good. Because I know for a fact that the more I know, the more I feel like I don't know anything. So if you don't have that feeling, you
No,
know.
absolutely. I think, and I think now it's getting more and more important to have good material such as videos and all that. I mean, that's because that's definitely more telling than any text. I think it's very difficult now with the text to be to make an impression on somebody, especially if somebody working on this. So you will read 100 of them every day or more. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had a question prepared for you regarding copywriting because I think copywriting is like the most elusive aspect of the music business. because when you record music, or if you make a video of your performance, or even if you take photos of the band or the solo performer, the performer is always there, so their personality shines through the material. But if you write a text, your music has to sound from the written word, and you are not there to give them that experience. So I think musicians struggle with copywriting the most because of that aspect.
I think so too, and not only musicians. I think it's an issue for promoters as well when they write the festival booklet, or the program of the venue. It's a challenge for journalists who review records, and there are very few good writers, I think,
I agree.
in jazz. Yeah,
Yeah. And
but still, it's needed. I think it's important to say as well that you can't avoid it totally. I mean, it's a little bit of writing. You will need to do it in any work you do in any of the sector you are in inside the jazz industry. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's true. Like people kind of fall into the traps of either self-praise or not being able to describe their music in an interesting way, or their ambition, which is actually another thing. Like another question that I get from musician is, like if I ask them, what do you do? Then the reply would be, I make good music that will touch people, which is a great answer, but it's not, it doesn't create an objective for the audience. It doesn't create a brand. It doesn't create something you can sell. It doesn't talk about your USP, your unique selling point. Um, how can you communicate your ambition to the audience or to the promoter if you're booking a show? And then I would say try to translate that into something you can quantize. So, for instance, in the next 6 months, I would like to have 300,000 more streams on Spotify in this specific playlist that presents acid jazz. And now you're already saying more about your music uh, than the moment that you were trying to describe your music or describe your ambition. So, like I would say normally to musicians, if you have any text of somebody else written about you, start with that. Like, start your EPK with a quote, because it's always good to hear what other people say about you, and they will probably be able to communicate your music better to the audience, especially if they're not musicians themselves.
No, I fully agree, and that's why I think it's still the media and the press, specialized press is so important, and it's a vital area of our world, of the jazz world.
Yeah. When you,
I
yeah, go,
No, go on.
go.
No, I think it's we are living in strange times. We don't know exactly how things will look like, in the next period and all of that. So it's very. I think. I mean, I do agree with all the things you say, and I also, I mean, working in communication, of course, my natural approach
Mm-hmm.
would be to have a strategy, to have objectives, to have to have a proper communication plan for everything I do, basically. But at the same time, I also, like I was mentioning before, I do realize why some musicians are reluctant to do that, because the core of what they do should be the art, and the main the motivations who made them choose a very difficult life path is for some other reason than making communication plans, which is what I do maybe
Yeah.
as
It seems that in our field today, musicians cannot afford to be only musicians. They have to learn seven other professions. They have to do PR, they have to do booking, they have to do management, they have to do accounting, they have to do some recordings at home, especially now with streaming. You have to be able to stream, to engineer your own, not only recording, but also broadcast. There's so many things you have to do on your own. Yeah,
It's
DIY.
a lot of work. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's very DIY, and we've seen really, but in a positive sense. I mean,
Yeah,
everything, this month we've seen,
yeah,
home concerts, which some of them were very good. I mean, I really liked, especially the beginning of the lockdowns was very good to be able to see, somebody playing, in the comfort of the home, in a cozy environment, in a not too far away. I mean, like you usually see people from concerts,
yeah.
and it's very difficult to give a formula for all these things because things are moving so fast, and yeah, it's very difficult to say what works and what doesn't work. So
Yeah.
I guess the best advice is just to try, and for everybody. I mean, somebody will be more talented in broadcasting, and then they can do something around that. Somebody will be more talented in giving online classes or lessons, and somebody will be more talented in communication and in social media, and so. But I don't think we can ask and we can expect musicians to do all these things together. I mean, that's way too much.
Well, I think the world is kind of expecting us to do it right now. I hope that the world will realize that it's impossible to do. And maybe with future, especially in Europe, they're already talking about the guaranteed income, kind of permanent income kind of module, which was created by the pandemic, really. Like we really need it now, and we're probably going to need it in the future. And maybe this model will allow certain professions to focus on what they do, music included, art in general being included. But I think the road is still, the path is still to be walked. There's still a distance between the utopic future we all want to have and what we have now.
Yeah, I think so too. And unfortunately, I think the pandemic should be the right moment to really think about
Yeah.
these type of things. And I mean, I'm totally in favor of a permanent income, whatever you call it, a citizenship, or some
Yeah.
sort of basic income. Yeah, basic income for everybody. And yeah, of course, in the northern European countries, they are more developed than us in the southern
Yes,
Europe
I agree.
about this. Yeah.
Yeah, but like countries like Norway, for instance, when they discovered they had gas resources, natural gas resources in the country, they just, they made it into a government-owned company, and then the income of that company goes directly to the citizens. So every citizen in Norway gets 300 euros a month income from the national gas reserve, which is amazing. you know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely definitely something that every country should do, but
Yeah.
it
They
doesn't
didn't do
do.
it in my country.
Yeah,
They
not it.
privatized it.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
No, I think it's I think you're right. I think it should be, yeah. There is a deeper social, no, political and social discourse that I think it's this pandemic has brought forward, and will bring forward in the years to come, I'm sure, because the social consequences and will be very strong in after also the pandemic will be over. So I think it will be important to rethink a lot of our of the way we conceive, also art and culture, and the way we support, we as a country. I mean, we like national government support the art. Yeah.
you have a lot of support in Italy?
I mean, no. If you, of course, if you compare to Norway or any northern European countries, I think something is moving. I think during the pandemic, the Italian government did better than others and worse than others, kind of midway. If I can look at the support you gave to musicians or to promoters, organizers. I mean, it wasn't perfect by far, but it did try to do something.
Yeah.
I think it's it's a difficult topic, and and I think it's for me what strikes me the most. I mean, to be honest, I don't want to go too much into the details of the funding, because also I don't know too much about it. I mean, the grants and the supports for Italian organizations, but what strikes me the most as an observer is that still at the moment there is not really a strategy, for culture and for the arts after the pandemic. I mean, I think now that, or at least it's not public. I mean, we don't know about it. I mean, we don't know when concerts will restart, and we don't know when, what's the plan. I mean, there are some talks about doing, a big online platform for culture in Italy, but we know very well these things hardly work, and I mean, they cost millions of money, and they usually are a disaster. So it's, I think that's what strikes me the most if I look at this thing these days.
Yeah, we keep creating problems and then trying to find solutions. I think we're not very good in research. I think generally as humans, like we kind of rush things up. We want to have the solution before we actually do the work. So then, like this kind of solution, creating a platform for broadcasting, it sounds like having the solution before doing the thinking process. They did the same in Israel, by the way. They've created a government funded online platform that people can broadcast their own stuff on. But people can already broadcast on Facebook and on YouTube. So why do you need another body? It's better that you invest these millions and millions of euros into commissioning your work, for instance, and then people will broadcast them anyway.
Exactly. I mean, that's also what I think they should be doing more. And commissioning and residencies and creation of new works. This is really the time for all of that. I mean, it's
Yeah, we can travel, but we can work on location.
Yeah.
When you write a text, what kind of research do you do in advance?
Oh, good point. No, I mean, it's really important, like we said, for the trade fairs, it's really important to know what are you talking about, of course. And then, so it's important to be able to find information on the internet, to translate, to type, kind of understand. So when you mention an organization, you want to be sure you're mentioning it correctly and you're explaining correctly what they do. And I think that's the main type of research. And then a lot of text I write are also, I mean, I ask for inputs by other organizations. Like for example, if I have a press release about the EGN award, we give 3 awards now as EGN every year. One is for adventurous programming, so it's for a promoter.
The Manchester Jazz Festival won that. What is 2016 or something?
2016. Yeah, very good. No, it was a very nice occasion to visit the festival for us. And so when I do that, of course, I wouldn't write myself the story of Manchester Jazz Festival, because I don't know it. I can research, but I'm not the best person for that. So I will ask for some contribution from them. So yeah, there is a lot of exchange of information also between the communication people in different European countries and organizations.
Yeah. So then when you do your research, of course you research the organization and the people that are involved, and try to picture them in a way that that everybody will understand correctly what they do. And then what part of this writing process could you compare to jazz? Like, let's say, because when you're writing, you're always improvising, you're creating new work. Like, what part does improvisation take in the writing of a new text?
I think it does in a little way, to be honest, not too much. Also because it's I mean, we of course work a bit regularly, and we have a yearly set of activities which are changing, but are also there is a basic structure. So in a way, I guess that's more similar to trying to play a standard and to make some variations of it, or improvising on a set of harmonies or things. But I wouldn't, particularly, I wouldn't focus too much on this comparison. I think I think it's more when we think new activities, when we think of new projects. I think that's the the most creative parts of my work and the work of my colleagues, because that's when you really try to imagine something totally new. You try to see the direction it can take. You get excited about things, and that's part of. I think I would say that's similar to what a musician does in a way when creating something new.
Yeah. What are the three most exciting aspects about your work?
Well, traveling for sure. I mean, which definitely is not the case. Well,
It's not
this
what
year
we
was
signed up for.
yeah, exactly. This year wasn't very thrilling in this sense. But no, I mean, traveling is wonderful. I'm very, glad and very privileged in a way to be able to travel and to meet a lot of people from all over Europe and more. I think the organizing events in different countries which is not totally the same as traveling, that's also one of the things which gives me more satisfaction, because you work with different people. I mean, we just talking about the conference, I mean, organizing it in Novara was a totally different experience from doing it in Lisbon or in Budapest or in Wrocław, Poland. And so and you work with local staff, of course, with our member, and with all the staff of the organization. So it's very nice to be, in a way, every year to be challenged, with different working methods, different and it's very fulfilling. I mean, I would put this as first, probably even more than traveling.
Wow. So diversity.
Diversity and new challenges and new work in different context every time. And maybe a third thing is of course the music. I mean, the thrilling. I mean, for me, is still to listen to a lot of music and to be able to meet so many artists, because maybe we don't, you not only meet once, but you meet 2 or 3 times in different festivals in different countries. So after a while, you become friends with some of them, and it's nice, and it's nice. It's great to hear a lot of music.
Yeah. I like it too. And I like the aspects that you pointed out, like traveling and diversities are definitely what I signed up for when I became a musician. Like my teacher says that I started playing trombone when I was 9. So I came home from school and we had this presentation of the orchestra instruments. And they came and they explained about the violins, the brass, every group. And I saw this trombone. I didn't even know it was called trombone. I thought it was a big trumpet. So I came home and I said, I want to play a big trumpet. And then my dad is like, no, that makes a lot of noise. And then he asked me, why do you want to play that instrument? And then I don't remember saying this, but that's what he says. He says that I said, this instrument is going to take me abroad. Which is like, how can you predict this when you're 9? And apparently I was right. I am performing abroad now, and this is also the instrument that brought me to study in the Netherlands. So yeah, it's fun.
Hmm. And it's a beautiful instrument.
I agree. It's the coolest. Sorry, trumpets. Yeah. One last question on my behalf, and then we're going to move on to the Q&A. I know that there is a lot going on now within the industry with gender balance, and I was wondering what the EGN ticket is in that sense. Like, what is your policy and your plans for the next, let's say, 5 years addressing the gender balance issue?
Yeah, so in EGN, the gender balance topic or theme has been very prominent already since, I think, 2014. It's one key aspect in this was in 2018 in the Lisbon European Jazz Conference, the members approved, during the GA, the members approved a manifesto for gender balance in jazz and creative music. It's available on our website, through which the promoters committed, to tackle this issue very seriously. And then we worked also in collaboration with Key Change a lot for supporting each other.
I was about to ask, like, is it in collaboration with Vanessa and Key Change? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not the manifesto specifically, no, but then all our activities afterwards, and yes, and of course we are all fighting for the same goals. What we did as EGN after the manifesto was to start a survey inside the membership where we keep track of how many concerts feature at least one woman in the performance in the band. So we have the survey. We have data since 2015, and we will get the data from 2019. We recently closed it, so we have already that data. So our aim with this data is to compare if there has been an evolution, to be able to compare different countries, and it doesn't only focus on concerts. The decision at that point was to focus on concerts, which involved at least one female artist bands, and but also commission, educational projects, board of the organization, staff of the organizations, technical teams, volunteers. So we have an interesting set of data. I think we will work with this, and then what we do is usually organize at least one meeting a year specifically for that. Last year it was in Paris during the Rencontre EGC, and in December, and it was one of the last activities we did in person, and that's where the working group we have is meeting and is discussing things like the survey, but also presenting some studies that are happening. I think this is still an important area of activities, and there is still a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And I think with EGN now, you asked about our activities, what we do. At the moment we have actually a majority of women in the board of directors. We have 5 women and 4 men. And since some years now, we have a balanced, let's say, board of directors. We do pay attention to this, of course, when it regards to showcase, when it regards to keynote speakers or conference speakers, panel speakers. And so we try to that, but of course, EGN is only a very small part of that. I think what we can do more is to try to keep the theme active inside our membership, because our members organize something like 50,000 concerts every year, all together. So the impact that this can have is much wider than the single activities we do.
Yeah.
I think it will be an important. We are discussing now inside our working group of members to do some actions for next year around International Women's Day on 8th of March. So, yes. I mean, it's still being developed, this idea, but one very concrete thing is that we will make a kind of campaign, I mean, through our channels, but also trying to involve some magazines and websites and some, other stakeholders to, at least to bring attention, because I think I can see some progress happening, not everywhere, but in many European countries, in the programmation, in the bookings, and also in the media. But I think it's important to highlight that, not that it's, it's really important to show that this is happening and to keep the attention on the theme. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm happy that you're taking active steps, because like I remember when I visited the conference in Lisbon, I was thinking a little bit about programming. So, and they also interviewed me for that, because there was this movie made by Nigel Slay at the end of the conference. So he interviewed me and he asked me what was the thing that stood out the most for me in the conference. And I was thinking like, hey, like if I really think back at the showcases that I've seen, I've only seen one showcase that the headliner was female. So it brings a question like, why is it like that? And then when I visited Novara a year later, I saw a tremendous improvement in the lineup. I was like, wow, this is like a extreme change from what it was the year before. So I'm happy to see that you have the you said it was probably related to the manifesto, because I didn't know it changed exactly in that year. So I think it shows that I've definitely noticed a change, positive change. Yeah.
No, I think it's important, and I mean, I think if I remember right, in Lisbon there were two actually, not one, but still, yeah.
I'm saying the ones I've seen. I didn't say it was the entire conference. The showcases that I have seen only had one female headline.
No, but you're right, and we also need to acknowledge that different countries have different situation, and all the things we know, but it's definitely something that I think now we are at a stage where any programmer cannot use anymore the excuse, I focus on quality. I think there is so much good music out there from every, possible gender, existing gender.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, so I don't think we should use this excuse anymore. And
yeah, I agree. I think people just go for the easiest way possible, right? Because they book the people they already know. And sometimes they ask their friends for recommendations. It happens to me too. People come to me and say, hey, can you give me the top 5 bands from the Netherlands? Or can you give me the top 3 bands from Israel? And I was like, well, in what genre? What is the objective? What kind of festival? What are we talking about? No, I just want to know the top 3. And then, when you see at the beginning, I would just say names, right? And then I would look at the program of that festival a couple months later, and I would see the exact list that I gave them in the program. And I was like, didn't you search for any other bands? You just took my opinion, and I thought it was surprising. So now I'm more careful, now I'm not giving this advice like that anymore. I'm like, yeah, okay, let's talk about conversation. Let's see the parameters. What are you aiming for? And then maybe expose them to 10 bands instead of 3, and then you do your research. You got to look it up yourself. And I think this is also a nerve that we need to kind of make smooth, because people tend to go for the easiest way possible in many ways. As a species, I think we are like that. We mentioned that before. We want the solution before we want to do the research.
No, it's very true. I fully agree, and I can see that happening as well here in Italy. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
And
so, yeah, you were saying?
No, I think I had just a recommendation. I mean, I don't know if I can find it, but I just read a very nice article about this. This was written by Kim Macari, which is one of our members in EGN, but also she's the president of the Jazz Promotion Network. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about this whole gender thing and linked to meritocracy and the presumed idea of meritocracy in the music business. And it's I found it very interesting, made me think a lot, and I definitely agree with her point of view. So that if somebody wants to check it out, it would be good to have some food for thought. And especially, I mean, a lot of interesting things she says, but this myth of meritocracy, I think it's very important to deconstruct in a way, because it's all a myth. It's not a reality in the what meritocracy is and what merit is and what quality is and all that.
Yeah. Maybe you can put the link in the comments that people can check it out.
Yeah. Well, I will do it afterwards. Yeah, I cannot do it now. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks. So we have a question from Alf Wilhelm Lundberg. And I quote, "I have a European collaborative project that has recorded and finished a release for next year. How should I approach and contact EJN to try and get this Norwegian-Italian project to find concerts in both those countries? Interesting as a musician to hear your advice on how musicians should approach organizers. Thanks a lot, and greetings from Trondheim, Norway."
Hello, and thanks to you. Do you want me to reply? Or?
Yeah, please.
Okay, so there are two things. I mean, I think for EGN as an organization, as I mentioned, we mainly worked with promoters. I mean, it's a network of promoters. So directly, we wouldn't support or fund artistic projects by artists. I mean, that's not what EGN is created for. The EGN was created, as I said, back in 1987 as a bridge between different organizers in different countries. At the beginning, it was very small. Now it's very big. But the main core of our activity, and also the reason why the European Union is supporting our networks, is to do these collaborations between the different promoters, the different organizers, who are, of course, working with their artists and with collaborations and new projects. But so let's say directly, we work very little with artists. I think one good thing I can say, one important thing I could answer to the question about this, though, it's that very concrete answer is that very recently there is a call just been published last week, I think, is this iPortunus. I don't know if you know about it, Noam. It's still a Creative Europe funded project like we are. It's managed by the Goethe Institute and others. Nice. And it's a mobility scheme for artists, especially for residencies and new projects, new collaborations. So it will fit perfectly, I guess, with what the question was. This scheme has been in place. It's a pilot project at the moment. Has been in place since 1 year or two. And so far, it was only for, not for music, it was for other performing arts, such as theater and dance. But since last week, actually, because it's just been published, there is a scheme for music, which is specifically addressed for jazz, classical music, songwriting. I mean, it's you can read in the call. I copied it to you in the private chat, but I can share it also later.
I will put it in the comments. Are you
yeah, of course you should. Yeah, if you can, it's better. And I mean that's the type of project that the question was perfectly, it's perfectly in line. I was checking this call in detail in the last days, and I encourage everybody to have a look, because it's a very good instrument, and there will be more of this. I mean, I think it's always important to check out, what's happening also with the Creative Europe and with the European Union fundings, because often there are possibilities which are, maybe not super easy to understand at the beginning. You need to understand their terminology. You need to understand the mechanisms, but there is definitely possibilities there, and there will be even more in the future, because a new budget has been just approved by the European Parliament and the European Commission for, I mean, it will be the next EU budget, but also it includes the new Creative Europe, which is the cultural program. And there is a substantial increase from the previous 7 years. I think it's about 50 something increase. So there will be a lot of calls. There will be, sorry?
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's very, and we as EGN, together with many other networks, we lobbied a lot about this. I mean, it was a big fight that's been going on for a couple of years. This negotiation was a big negotiation, and of course, we, as all cultural networks in Europe, we were very coordinated in that, and of course, there are very realities which are much bigger than EGN and jazz. Which and all together, I think we and together with a lot of members of the European Parliament and with a lot of other people, I think we managed to convince, which wasn't obvious at that moment. It looked like it wouldn't happen like this. So I guess my advice on that is just to check out the possibilities, and there are funds, especially for mobility. It's quite easy to have funds. Still, you will need to, of course, to find somebody who believes in you, in your project, and who can grant you a proper artistic fee for what you do. I mean, that's
so it will just help you with your mobility, basically.
This call, yes. Other calls, no, they can cover also some artistic costs, but still, you will always need to rely on either a promoter or an organization who is able to apply for funds. This call is for individual artists, so you don't need an organization to apply to this call. But most of the other calls so far are for organizations. Therefore, it would be a promoter or an organization, a cultural organization, who apply for this funding and then use this funding to cover some of the cost.
Yeah, that's the key definition in the music business today, is to DIY.
Yeah.
And ask for some help, but be self-sufficient first.
Yeah, and build your network, because whatever happens, you will need your network of organizers, of people who work in the system. There is so that will always be that. My one of my advice to musicians is always to be, to know your area, to really get to know where to go to the concerts of your friends or other musicians, to be active in the area where you are, and make make connection with the promoters, with the organization, or also simply with the people interested in that. And
Great answer. Thank you for that. I put the links in the comments, by the way, so you don't have to do it later on.
Okay, good. Perfect.
So this was the official part, and now we go to the fun part of the interview. So I have this. I don't know if you know the Actors Studio with James Lipton. It's a program that was.
No.
Smile? No. Okay. So it's a program that he used to interview a lot of famous actors, and at the end of each interview, he would ask them 10 questions taken from the Bernard Pivot questionnaire, the French talk show host. And since James Lipton passed away recently, I thought it would be a nice tribute to take over this questionnaire and put it in my podcast. So it's a series of 10 personal questions, and you're supposed to reply with the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. It's scary, but...
No, it's not. It's fun stuff.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Let's go. Yeah.
Yes. What is your favorite word?
Uh, in Italian is prospettiva. You
Is
will
that
translate
perspective?
perspective, yeah.
Nice. I love Italian. My favorite word in Italian is ottimo.
Ottimo. Wow, that's a nice word
Yeah.
also.
Yeah. What is your least favorite word?
It's more difficult. Uh, triste, maybe, which is
Oh,
sad. Something
sadness.
about that. Yeah, something about that.
Yeah, you're so lucky to have such a beautiful language. I love it.
I love it too.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's good to have. I think growing up around beautiful things is very helpful to develop arts. So yeah, I guess that's why I enjoy playing in Italy a lot. Like every time I go to Italy, like the audience really knows what I'm doing. I really feel that they're in tune with the music. They always clap in the right moment, which is not happening in other countries.
Yeah, exactly. Mm.
You probably have this experience as well. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Mm. Discoveries, maybe to discover something new. I mean, maybe
Hmm.
it's not an original answer, but
Well, actually, you're the only one who said that until now.
okay.
And I'm doing this podcast for like 6 months already.
Well, then yes, it's original.
Yes, it is original. What turns you off?
Uh, yeah, I think it's procrastinating, maybe, like delay. Yeah, when things go very long
Yes.
and yeah, that
Not for a real reason.
yeah, something about procrastinating. Yes, I don't know if it's the right word, but maybe yes.
I hate it too. Yeah, well, I won't say because it's not nice to say, but I'm working about a project now that I have to deal with a lot of people that are procrastinating, and it's not a lot of fun. I won't say who they are though. What is your favorite curse word?
Curse. Uh, well, can we? I mean, I would say cazzo,
Cat.
by
So
yeah, to be on because we are broadcasting. I use
yeah,
it
but
a lot. Yeah, but still,
in
there
some
are worse.
languages it means cat, huh?
Mhm. There are worse one in Italian. Let's
Exactly.
say, yeah, but that's the one I use more commonly. Yeah, probably that's that.
Yeah. I have a friend from Napoli, and he always has this "che fanculo," with the hand.
Yeah, yeah. You see, that's where the book of gesture will come handy.
Yes, exactly. I haven't shown it to him yet because he lives in Dubai now. So yeah, what can you do? Far away. What
But
sound or noise? Oh, sorry. What?
no, but it's useful in times of Zoom meetings. That's
Yes.
the hand gesture should be have back their popularity. I think throughout the world. Yeah.
Well, I should have asked you. What's your favorite hand gesture?
Well, uh, uh, maybe luck, something like that. When you
Okay,
say
good.
something about luck. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Um, what sound or noise do you love?
Sound or noise.
That you love?
I mean, double bass is definitely one of the sounds. in general I love. And birds I love so much, maybe even more. Yeah. And
Yeah.
wind, the sound of the wind also.
A lot of people say birds. I think that's like a very common answer with my podcast guests. I think especially now in the pandemic, we hear the birds more because there's less pollution, there's less noise on the street, less cars, so there are more birds also.
Definitely, you can really tell. Yeah, and then there, it's amazing. I mean, it's such a complex world, no? The complex universe, the one of
Ah,
bird sounds.
yeah. What sound or noise do you hate?
Well, I mean, there is one in the morning I really hate, but it's personal, but I can say it. I don't mind. It's in front of our bedroom, and we live by I don't know, say a vegetable shop, fruit and vegetable shop in the background, in the backyard of this shop. So every morning, like at 6 a.m., a huge truck comes in and they unload, of course they have to do it. I mean, they work there, they unload all the vegetables and things, but they are very noisy about it, and they really show like they don't care about.
Oh.
So but we are quite new. We moved in our flat in January, so I still need to get used to it. So I guess at some point I will stop hearing it at all. But at the moment, I'm still hearing this sound, and I really hate it.
I can understand you. 6 a.m. It's definitely not my hour. I go to sleep at 3. So
And it's very heavy. I mean, seriously, I mean, they could do. I'm sure they could do the same with much less noise. It's not about what they have to do. I think they really do it intentionally to wake up all the people in the surroundings.
or maybe to wake themselves up.
Yeah. Also, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Yeah, something about journalism or maybe documentary maker doing movie, more than movies, like documentaries. Yeah, something about that.
Great. What profession other than your own would you not like to do?
Oh, the engineer, maybe.
What type?
Oh, yeah, it
There are
depends.
so
I
many
mean,
types.
I'm sure there are worse professions, but no, I can't think.
Yeah. Yeah,
But I
politics.
mean,
I
I
don't want
would
to.
say, yeah, politics, maybe.
You were saying?
No.
No, no. All right. So my final question, my favorite question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you enter the gates?
Good question.
Yes.
I don't know. I would like him to say, or her, to say like, come sit here and let's watch what happens down there.
Let's see what these suckers are doing.
Something like that, yeah.
I like this answer. It's very original.
Well, first
Vanessa
thing,
Reed.
I didn't think about it, definitely. I wouldn't expect this question.
Vanessa Reed was saying, like, she wants God to say, "This is the beginning of another life." And I was like, "Are you serious? It's finally over. I want to rest."
That's very optimistic, yeah,
Very
in a way.
optimistic. Yeah. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thanks to you, Nanny. It was fun. It was very fun.
Yeah, you're a fun person to talk to.
Thank you. And yeah, it was a pleasure. I hope I was able to answer the questions on the official ones. I mean, not the task. But if anybody wants to know more, I mean, we have our website, we have our social media of EGN, Europe Just Network, and most of them, all of the information are available there.
Yeah, and visit the EJC.
Yeah, come. I mean, Tallinn is going to be great. It's a beautiful city, beautiful locations, very nice. Our members there are fantastic. So, I mean, we didn't start work on that, but we are going to start with the new year. In January, we are diving into the preparations. So, yeah, it's 16 to 19 September 2021.
Great. I will be there.
Yeah,
it's the only city in the world that I've visited that all the restaurants had gluten-free food and beer. So I had a good time.
Yeah, it's they're very, the Estonians are very careful about things. They're very caring about things.
Yeah. Like they have the combination of this like really thoughtful mind and then also like a caregiving personality. I like that that type of personality. It's very, very good.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being with us today and for sharing your knowledge with our music community. And I don't know if I told you about it, but on my course, I have this back end space where we create a community for musicians and promoters to speak directly, music professionals, not necessarily promoters. And then if you would like to join that group, I'm happy to send you a username so you can create yourself an avatar and join the conversation. In these pandemic times, it's difficult to stay in touch. So I think it's nice to be able to have some contact.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I agree. Yeah, it's very important now to keep this dimension of contact. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Great. Yeah, it will be great. Send me the link. Yeah, please.
Thanks. Cool. I put the links in the comments as well if you guys want to register to the community. It will be nice to have you there. So thank you, Stefano, and I wish you all the best with all your endeavors. And I hope to see you also in person very soon.
Yeah, thank you, Nanny, and thanks for having me here. And yeah, let's hope with the spring or summer we will be able to meet again.
Yeah. And if you come to Amsterdam, let me know.
Definitely, I will.
Good. So bye for now. See you very soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Ciao, bello.
Ciao.
Thank you very much for joining us today. As you know, Why DIY Music offers scholarships for musicians, only for independent musicians, actually. So if you would like to check that out, go to our website, whydiymusic.com/scholarship, and submit your application form. All donations to this podcast will be used to help young musicians get a proper education on whydiymusic.com. So please visit whydiymusic.com/donate and make your contribution and help a lot of musicians that are in need. You could also send a direct PayPal transfer to paypal.me/Noam Vazana. Now, Music Career Radio is taking a break for 2 weeks for the holidays, but we will gear up for next year, and I'll invite you to join me on Thursday, January 7th, with a kickoff for the year with a special guest, Avi Maor. He's an international artist manager and the founder of AM Concept Management. In the meantime, as we always do, keep calm, good luck, and DIY.